Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very special edition of What's the Point, our weekly forum where we discuss, well, the latest and greatest from the world of points. This session will be more an AMA style. So rather than me asking all of the questions to the guest, you will have a chance to engage with him directly. Ask away, and I'll take all the relevant questions. Please understand that this is a very aeroplan focused session, so we'll keep it to that, and all of the questions, all of the relevant questions I see in the chat, I will take that up. The man doesn't need an introduction, but I think deserves one simply for being one of the best, most candid executives we've had from an airline industry perspective. So without further ado, welcome, Scott.
Hey, thank you so much, Anshul. And hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We see some of the regulars have joined in. Heather, Nicholas, Anwar is here, Alex, Theodore. Uh, what's your take on Atmos program? That is not the topic here, but we'll get to that after, towards the very end, if you have other
I'm
questions.
happy to answer that one.
Yeah, go for it.
I,
Scott,
I
what
think it
is your
is.
take?
I think it is. I'll at least speak to the pieces that are maybe relevant to our recent changes because they definitely took a different approach than we did.
Hmm.
And I think it was a very elegant, very interesting solution that they came up with because we were watching with great curiosity as well. As I'm sure most of you know, up to this point, the Alaska Mileage Plan program had always been, they were one of the last holdouts in terms of being a distance-based program. And as you take a look at what their network aspirations are and what the combined network that includes Hawaiian, it really does kind of put them in a very interesting. It puts them in a very interesting setup because uh, their loyal member base engages with their network in very different ways. You consider in Hawaii, many folks use Hawaiian Airlines as the crosstown bus. They taking these 43-mile flights from one island to another, and that's very different than somebody that's engaging with perhaps the Alaska network, taking very frequent transcontinental runs and would also be taking some of their long haul routes. And very similar story up in Alaska. Again, for lack of roadways, there's also very short flights that where basically the airline is the incumbent mode of transportation. And so really with that, you could not, and we could not square it in our mind, a one size fits all approach that really worked. And so this solution of where they created a choice was again a choice in this regard. Just it does add complexity, but it was definitely an elegant approach to what they did, and have a lot of respect for it. That's very different than what we saw because we talked about a very similar approach for Aeroplan, but we really had to look closer at our members and how they travel and how they use the Air Canada network. And the design that we came up with, ultimately was the one that benefited our members the most in a way that we could afford it, in a way that we can kind of contain the size of our elite program, really at the end of the day.
Hmm. That's a fantastic way of thinking about it because so in your opinion, does adding choice, is that just a very IT intensive workload, or is it just more about the ethos and the buy-in to that idea?
What a loaded question, Anshul. I'm not going to throw
Sorry.
my IT group under the
No,
bus.
I
Of
did.
course,
I
anything's
genuinely
possible,
meant,
right?
yeah, but is that simply an IT thing, or is it also just a buy-in from the larger executive pool about having that choice as a piece in there in the
I
program?
think in this case, we just have to be. So, short answer to your question, no, it's not a technical challenge. And I think, as you well know, we are big we are big fans of choice. We know that the more choice that we can put in front of our members, the better the program is going to be, the more easy it's going to be and relevant for our members to engage with us. Right? Full stop. Uh, this in this particular case, where you're essentially taking basically excuse me, where you'd be taking the highest common denominator across your membership base, what you'd be left with is a much, much larger pool of elite members. And I think you've heard me say this before. When everyone is elite, no one is elite. And so we just have to be careful about containing the size of the program. As you consider, the changes that we made, call it specific to qualification. The folks that are going to be most challenged with these changes are the ones that exclusively take long haul flights. That really is a very narrow segment of our membership base, and for us, we want to engage those members in a different way. We're going to, address that through targeted promotions and targeted opportunities. But in terms of a base earn, what we have found is that the majority of our members who do take us on longer haul flights, that tends to be balanced with much shorter and medium haul flying as well. And so our by and large, and it is kind of why we've landed at seeing how most of our members are going to benefit from these changes. It's because everything kind of comes out in the watch to either a neutral outcome or in many cases a positive outcome for our members.
Hmm. I think that's fair. Um, And you've touched upon a few key things that I wanted to sort of talk about or probe into a little bit, but sort of for context building, you spoke about choice, and we'll get to the select benefits versus milestones and the million miler thing that we've all been listening to from various forums. But before you do that, could you, for us, for the sort of members or non-members that might be listening to this, could you lay out a bit of a project sort of, could you put on your project manager hat and tell us when you roll out these big changes into a program, what's the kind of timeline? I'm sure you've already discussed, yeah, there'll be some initial feedback. When do you really start to look at that feedback? When do you really start to think about, yeah, we need to roll this back, or if we need to roll anything back at all, or we need to change it, tweak it? Will there be Aeroplan Changes 2.0 coming soon? Tell us a little bit about that sort of roadmap, so to speak.
For sure. So first of all, you think about the amount of time, effort, and research that goes into the changes in the first place. And when we look at that, we, first of all, understand just empirically, we look at how our members are engaging with Air Canada and with the program to really understand, what is the current state, and where is it that we want the loyalty instrument to deliver even more loyalty. And so we take a look at that. We from there, really want to then start talking to our members, and we do that qualitatively. We do it quantitatively, but there's quite a bit of research that we do. I'd say the amount of research that went into the 2020 redesign of Aeroplan, that was the better part of 18 months, 24 months of research before we wrote our first line of code. And I'd say it was a similar amount of time for this. It was somewhere in the magnitude of 18 to 24 months of research that we did with our members leading up to that. And then you have the build, and the build itself. These are builds that cost tens of millions of dollars, and they're significant, and they tend to take the better part of 2 years to develop. Now, I think more specific to your question, though, is the chances of getting everything right up front is very low. That's just the one thing I've learned in all my years of working in the business is you not only can't be afraid to take U-turns, you should embrace a U-turn when it's absolutely the right thing to do. Because so much of loyalty, where I'm saying so much of being customer focused involves listening to your customers, being willing to engage in the two-way conversation, being willing to see blind spots that might not have been accounted for across a broad redesign, and then making adjustments from there. And so, for those of you that turned into the Prince of Travel last week, there you would have seen, we talked about a couple different areas that we're looking to make some changes based on very solid feedback. And those are things that we'll look forward to sharing in more detail with you, really in the coming weeks. It won't be,
Hmm.
it's not going to be really measured in months. It'll be measured more in weeks. Um, But anyway, I get. Hopefully, I've answered your question.
You
Don't be
have.
afraid to take U-turns and course corrections, and it's through communities like this, like Flyer Talk, like Reddit, that really kind of act as a great early warning system, for massive changes that we roll into the market.
On the Prince of Travel chat, you forgot to mention Flyer Talk, so a few people were a little
I saw
miffed.
that there was I saw the hate there. Sorry, I go to Flyer Talk first, gang. I really do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have a couple of questions. So I'm assuming the imminent and upcoming communication that you were talking about is going to be more geared towards uh, sort of million miler focused information. Is that what you're? Let's zoom in a little bit on that. Uh, can you share what aspects of it you'd be addressing, or that not yet through these
Well,
communications? Like what
yeah,
what
I'll
has been
start.
your initial feedback?
I think the initial feedback is, we have a lot of our members that went through great lengths to achieve, certain milestones in the program, and I think the most notable one to really call out our million miler members. I think you also have members that have banked super elite, for example. Are for these members who might be using their tier grants, if you will, during a year where they otherwise might not be doing a lot of travel themselves. While the tiers themselves offer some very rich core benefits, I think what you're potentially at risk of, especially at the lower tiers, is missing out on certain core, certain benefits that were part of, an annual selection process. And so, what we're looking to do is, for anyone who is, a million miler or a multi-million miler, is ensuring that even without any flying activity, that you would enjoy above and beyond your core benefits some additional gifts as well. And so we're just kind of finalizing what that looks like. And again, look forward to talking about it soon.
Yeah, and so is that I'll take Harry's question. Harry says, "Thank you for coming out, Scott. Will you please consider letting us choose core benefits at the beginning of the benefit year? As a super elite, I've enjoyed being able to give 50K to my daughter at the beginning of the year for her to enjoy it for the rest." Uh, can you quickly tell us a little bit about what happens to folks that make super elite this year, 2020, sort of meet all the requirements right now for 2026? What can they look forward to? And what are some of the challenges from your end?
That's right. So uh, the milestone benefits were really designed to give our members more choice, not less choice. And we have a lot of our members said, "You're asking me at the beginning of the year to make a lot of decisions that are going to affect my travels throughout the year, when I'm not exactly sure how my year is going to shape up." And so many of our customers are just guessing what's going to be the best answer for them. I'm not saying that's true for all, but it was true for many. And so, really, the whole goal of the milestone benefits is to unlock benefits throughout your requalification journey, such that at the time that you're faced with a choice, you at least can have a little more relevance, or at least a better idea of the benefit that's going to be best for you at that time. That really was the spirit of this. However, a blind, call it a notable blind spot in that design is the status grant for a friend or loved one. And so, for example, we have a lot of members today in this year who selected a status grant for a friend that will be valid, through, call it, the remainder of this year.
Hmm.
And without a selectable benefit at the beginning of next year, you are potentially up against a gap between the beginning of the year and when you'd ultimately hit the milestone, which would
Hmm.
ostensibly be like later in the year. So the way that we're going to solve for that is in this transition year. If our member who designated a status for a friend is requalifies for that status or higher, we will automatically extend that status grant for a friend all the way through next year as well. And so there will be no interruption for that member's status. And then as a design of the milestone benefit itself, so let's just say logically you might find yourself in August, September, or later, where you are ultimately hitting that milestone for status for a friend. That status grant that you assign will be valid for the remainder of the elite year and the entirety of the following year. And so the status grants actually get better
Mhm.
in this design.
Okay, so for those that are sort of thinking about this from a very timeline perspective, if you, some member, let's say Anthony, if Anthony gave me a status grant in 2025, that status grant will not only last me until the end of 2025, but all the way through to 2026 as well. So in a way, it's a lot better than it used to be in the previous years, correct?
Sorry.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to lay that out for those that might be thinking around these lines. And Scott, sorry if we keep jumping back and forth, but I think that'll be the most honest way of taking most questions, most relevant questions from
Of
chat. So
course.
Graham is asking a very pertinent question that has been spoken about so much and continues to get a lot of ink, so to speak, on social media. Was there a particular intent that you can discuss behind taking the class of service bonuses off of all fares above flex? So basically, what's the incentive for somebody to book a latitude fare or whatever if everybody's at 4x past the flex fare bucket? Can you speak to that a bit?
The difference, it's the fare itself. The fare itself does go up as you increase your as you move up our fare brands. Again, this is just one of those where as you're looking for your best proxy for status, we did look at something that had more gradation in it. And ultimately, we landed on this design. It gives us some room to do some promotional offers if we wanted to if we wanted to offer a higher status qualification for a limited period of time for a particular fair brand, you could just kind of expect that we'll do some testing and learning there. But
Mhm.
the combination of being able to earn status at twice the rate of a standard fare. At any fare flex and above, combined with the amounts of the fares themselves, we're quite confident that that'll be beneficial for most of our members.
Okay. Uh, so
Oh, can
follow
I
up.
over answer the question? I'm going to over answer it.
Oh, yes,
Uh,
please.
so there, uh, so there's also I know that this came up following our announcement. It was the lifetime qualifying miles for the set of our customers that are closely tracking their lifetime qualifying miles. We know that the class of service bonus is there. Really had a role to play in helping accelerate or in some cases decelerate in the cases of standard fares your progress toward lifetime status. And so we are making the change there. It was directly the result of feedback from this community and the broader community. So we are going to have recognition. It'll be cabin based, and so you can expect that if you're on a standard fare or above, you'll basically get 1x the distance. But there would be accelerators for premium economy and for business class for lifetime qualification.
Okay.
More
Yeah,
to come.
that's great to know right off the bat because one of the things that after your chat at the at Prince of Travel Forum, this was being discussed, this exact same thing as to what did he mean when he said stay tuned. So I'm glad you're able to give us a little bit more on that. Um, Captain Cashman. I don't come up with these names, so feel free to smile, chuckle at these. Says, hello, Scott. Pleased to have you answering questions for your loyal Aeroplan members. Have to say it sucks the rollover bonuses are gone, but I kind of knew because it was too good to be true. Uh, from a timeline perspective, this is obviously not a direct question, but more a comment from Captain Cashman. But can you tell us a little bit about how this rollover will work, 25 going into 26 and then 26 going into 27? Because everything I've read on Reddit or Fly Talk, there's a lot of confusion around just the timeline because these 2 years are going to be slightly different in terms of how they roll over. So if you can tell us a little bit about that.
Hey, thanks for the question. So we have kind of a unique transition year this year. So this year, for our premium card holders that enjoy the rollover SQM benefit, what we're going to do for the transition for into next year is we will take the amount of rollover SQM that you would have earned, and we will convert it into SQC at a 5 SQM to 1 SQC ratio. And those SQC will be your head start for SQC accumulation in the 2026 year, and will also be eligible to unlock milestones. And so, if you hit the maximum of 200,000, excuse me, if you hit the maximum of 200,000 SQM that can roll over into the next year, that will equate to 40,000 SQC, and that means that you will have unlocked all the milestones through the 40,000 SQC milestone. Which notably, that I think at 40,000, one of the options in there is a priority reward.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's
So that answers at least the call it the transition year, and then all of your SQC earn in 2026 will be counted toward the head start of that would take effect in 2027. And so, the easiest way to think about this is it's a reduced qualification level at the end of the day. If you earn just 50,000 SQC, you will get basically 5,000 SQC, or basically a 10% head start, or I call it a reduced qualification requirement in the
mhm.
following year. But there's no cap on that 10% head start.
Correct. And I think that's the key piece that was missing in a lot of the discourse is that that 10% head start does not have a cap. So if you are one of those that puts in enough SQMs out there, then you will benefit, or SQC rather, for the next year. So,
That's right. It may be a relevant, just one relevant update to that is the SQC that roll over into into the next year do not count toward the SQC cap for the credit cards. And so,
oh, that's good
when
to know.
yeah, so if you get 30,000 SQC through the Head Start, that would be additive to whatever SQC you're able to earn on your credit card for that year, up to 25,000 SQC.
Nice little dangle of the carrot for the rest of the year, 2025. Thanks, Scott.
For sure.
Right, on to Jack's question. This might be a quick yes or no, or elaborate if you feel like it is around the carryover. Was there any consideration for a soft landing, given this unique sort of transition years coming up in the next couple of years?
So it is a popular question, and thank you for it. The short answer is it is something that we seriously considered. It's just it wasn't possible, and it wasn't viable for a handful of reasons. Really, an SQM and an SQC are not like currencies, and as you well know, the SQC is also now linked to benefit unlocking, and so there's major implications to any sort of transition beyond what we've already rolled out with. Now, as you take a look, we've done the math on several members that have written in. As you can imagine, we have had some members write in, especially ones that are highly engaged in the program, find themselves in the top tier of our program, find themselves heavily engaged. And as we did the math for them, what we found is while they're going to be rolling over less SQC into or call it they will be rolling over less into the new year with this conversion. They will be earning through their spend activities on Air Canada much more SQC than they otherwise were getting before, and so it kind of netted out to where these members are going to be qualifying at about the same level, and they're going to be unlocking the same amount, or in many cases, more benefits than they would have before. And so, again, I encourage you, if you haven't already, do your own math to kind of look at what your earn would look like. I think what you're going to find is anything you're missing out on the rollover, in many cases, is compensated by the increased earn that you would be getting in SQC through your Air Canada spend activities.
Yeah, and just as you said, do your own math. There are a couple of tools flying around, especially on Flyer Talk and other forums. Uh, and feel free to chime in or not, Scott, but I just want to give everybody a word of caution that these tools, as well-meaning as they are, and this is coming from me, nothing to do with Scott, we haven't spoken about this before, don't trust those as 100% of what's going to happen next year, because I feel like there is a lot of members that are causing themselves panic and anxiety just by using these third-party tools that are meant to sort of give them a bit of a guideline, but to take it on its word that that's how your status or SQC calculation is going to pan out. I think it's not the best way going forward. Just putting the word of caution out there. Trust your namesake, Scott Kennedy, well, Kennedy in this case, to pull us into a very nuanced question. So here it is the 250-mile minimum staying the same for partner earnings on partner tickets and for life qualifying miles?
Uh, you know what? I might need to phone a friend on this one, Scott. I
Sounds
seriously, I promise you, I'll get you the answer, lickety split. I just, this is one that we spent so much time on, and ultimately, went through so many different scenarios. I honestly can't recall exactly where we landed on this one.
fair. Uh, so there's more questions by sort of comments and questions by MB and more around the million mile. And we've spoken about this already. We've given you a bit of timeline. So hopefully that answered that question, MB. Theodore, yeah, there was this I think so. Theodore is contrary to what I believe, but I'll read it out anyways. Theodore says, I feel the revamp in 2020 and now the new revamp makes it more confusing than before. To which Captain Cashman says, you always need a PhD basically to understand it because it's highly complex. I do think anything, it's a little simpler now and it remains highly complex. So because you've mentioned this in the other forum with the Prince of Travel before, that a lot of your elite members did not realize what their benefits were to begin with when these, and I'm bringing the conversation back to this idea of select benefits versus choosing your own through the milestone benefits. What's your take in the next year a bit? What's the initial feedback been around SQC versus SQM, SQD, and all of that complexity, so to speak? And yeah, initial feedback around if that select benefit versus milestone benefits will really resolve the complexity uh, around benefits, especially for your core elite members, which you mentioned that a lot of them didn't realize what kind of benefits they even have.
That's right. Um, Actually, I mean, you'll remember way back, analogy that we continue to use for the Aeroplan program is a Swiss Army knife. You have this beautiful knife with a bunch of a bunch of features to it, but the majority of our the majority of folks only use that one blade. But it's also good to have all the other doodads on the knife for those that actually want to, that want to take a, full advantage of it. And it's the same thing here. I think for us, kind of building into that analogy further, we wanted to make the program more intuitive, including for some of the extra doodads in the program, especially for our members that are engaging with us at the level that they are, because the way that the feedback that we would hear from them is I don't have the time to understand how to take advantage of all of my elite benefits. Or I had no idea, or there was also a belief that the program just wasn't rewarding because they weren't taking the time to understand all the benefits that were available to them. And so, our goal here, in particular with the milestone construct, was to have those benefits come across more automatic for those benefit earns to be more celebrated and to be more intuitive to engage with. And so you really haven't had an opportunity to see kind of you've seen some renderings, but you really haven't seen the customer journey that we've created for this. Excuse me. It's really designed to be more intuitive for our member, not less. I think what maybe makes this feel complicated now is in these forums and in these settings, we're giving you the benefit of the full architecture of the changes. We're kind of showing you the plans to the house, if you will. And with that, it will seem complex because it is complex. But that complexity is really meant to sit behind the scenes and not necessarily something that we drag you through as a member.
Fair. Yeah, and the way initially I read that was, hey, this is exactly what I love about the Hyatt program, for example, which gave you these milestone awards, and I was able to choose and pick the ones that best suited me. And perhaps more importantly, and this is purely a personal opinion, it allowed me to switch and change every other year if I wanted to, based on what I liked, what I did not like. So I feel like in the next couple of years, I'll get to dabble into these benefits a little bit more, rather than being stuck to two of three or two of four benefits that I got to select. I could really try each one out every other year if I made those thresholds. Uh,
Right. It's a great Hyatt is a great parallel. We've got a lot of respect for that program and that design, and there was a lot of their design in our own inspiration.
mm. Um, Perhaps this needs a little more clarification because I know the answer, but I rather you do it. Harry is asking, will you consider lifting the 25K SQC earning cap for credit cards, but have a minimum 014, so Air Canada ticket bucket SQC earning threshold? From what I recall, there's no threshold or there's no ceiling for 014 earnings, correct, with
None.
SQC? Perfect. So I just
There's
wanted to
none.
clarify that. Yeah,
And that's not
let's
just Air Canada, it's any ticket bought through a 014
014.
ticket.
Yes, that's correct. Let's talk a little bit about credit cards and the impact on premium credit cards. What's your initial feedback been? Because some of us feel like because there is a cap now of 25K SQC, there's a small group of people. I'll give you my immediate circle of friends. Some of them small business owners really loved putting everything on their reserve cards because that would really earn them the SQM. But now it feels like with the changes, the focus has really shifted. And I'm taking somebody's words from Flyer Talk. I don't know whose, but the focus has really shifted back to earning with flying being the true way of getting status. Uh, Comments, reaction, thoughts around it?
Yeah, so maybe a couple here. So you're right. Just maybe to acknowledge your last point, the motivation of this design was to ensure that our elite program is centered around flying on Air Canada, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our members' full engagement across Aeroplan, be it with the credit cards, our everyday partners, our Star Alliance members, etc., are also accounted for in this design. Um, uh, I think it's been called out, through these various forums. It'll be possible, conceivably, to earn up to 50K status through no flying activity at all on Air Canada, and so, I hope. Hopefully, that is an indication that we were willing to go pretty far in terms of what your engagement outside of flying Air Canada, where that can take you. But where we don't believe it should take you is into the top tiers of our program, and it's part of our desire to just keep those, to really keep those tiers reserved as and keep them a certain size and keep them very special for for the members that are really spending heavily or engaging a lot with the airline. So, is 25,000 SQC the right number for credit card? I think we're gonna learn, quite honestly. But so maybe consider this our conservative position going in. It's something that we'll continue to reevaluate. We obviously are very grateful to to our members who are engaging heavily on our reserve credit card. It's a great card. There's just no other card in the market that offers that level of Aeroplan points return for, call it, unbonus spend or for base spend. And so it is still quite a rewarding product. But we do hear you in terms of for our biggest spenders, we have customers that are spending 500,000, million plus on their card a year, especially with their small business. And really, what it's really on us to identify those members and give them an advantage path as well. It might not come out on a published basis to start, but just know that those members, those cardholders, are on our radar to ensure that there is a continuous incentive to keep going with us.
Oh, fantastic. That'll be music to a lot of my small business friends who are really looking forward to seeing how else they can engage with the program and continue to put that kind because the benefits did outweigh what they were putting into those cards through their business. Perhaps a good time to sort of ask you a bit of an overarching question. You mentioned you wanted to keep that 100K sort of exclusive. So while adding these caps is kind of not preventing, but making it a little more difficult for those that are doing it purely based on credit card spend to become super elite members, then why also move the threshold from 100K to 125K? Like it seems like a double correction there, right? So can you tell us a little bit about the rationale behind moving that 100K to 125K specifically for that group? Because especially when you're not changing anything else in that tiers, in the other tiers.
I think the thing about super elite is it more than, and again, I'm kind of stating the obvious here, but when you start to hit the tippy top tiers of an elite program, the the size of that population really matters. The amount of consumption of benefits really matters. And it's this is I'll cite an example. It's not the entire reason, but you kind of think about the level of service that we offer, the level of customer service that we provide to our super elites through our concierge, the level of monitoring that we do. There's just that in and of itself is quite our super elites have told us that that is called a central benefit or the key benefit of the program. And unfortunately, you start to run into functional limits of call it that benefit delivery, to where your only choice by making the that tier more accessible is to erode the benefits of that tier. And we're just not. This is an area where, quite consciously, we have no appetite to erode the benefits of what it means to be a super elite. And so, with these changes, interestingly enough, the super elite tier remains about the same size. It is nominally larger in terms of the number of members, but definitely still within, we believe, the acceptable limits of the size of that population. But that would not have been possible and would not have been the case if we had kept our qualification at 100,000 SQC.
Hmm. And so I'm assuming you've obviously run the numbers, and even at that 125, there's enough data points to suggest you're not going to be losing out, or the members won't be losing out in the next coming year. Okay.
No, in fact, uh, the that tier is where we tend to have some of the highest retention of our members, because many of those members were already exhibiting those behaviors.
And since we're talking about Super Elite, you'd mentioned in forget the forum, but maybe it was just when you were addressing media about these changes. You'd mentioned something about taking away the best seat or best seat, the seat
The
guarantee from
guaranteed
that
seat.
group. Tell us because there were some questions around it. I know why because you gave us the rationale, but for the listeners, could you give us a bit around what were the challenges you faced and what was the reason behind taking that away?
Yeah. Uh, So first of all, I mean, we don't take it lightly. Nobody wants to take away a benefit, at least not without like adding a benefit as well. And yeah, I think over that time frame, we did add some other benefits. There just wasn't a call it a one for one swap of this particular benefit. Uh, it was among the lowest used benefit on our entire benefit slate in the program. However, when it was used, it was one of the most expensive benefits that we could ever offer, call it on a unit basis. And interestingly, what really put it on our radar wasn't that cost, because as you might imagine, if I just told you that the benefit is among the least used, it almost doesn't matter how much it costs every time you use it. If it's barely ever use what, it shouldn't really show up on your ledger. Um, Really, the what put it on our radar was the volume of complaints that we saw from our super elite members who wanted to use this benefit, tried to
Mm,
use this benefit, and were told that they couldn't use the benefit because the benefit itself had a lot of fences around it. You couldn't use it on Rouge flights, I believe was it, or you couldn't use it in sun markets, as the case might have been. There was a minimum amount of time in advance that it could be used. There was irregular operations that made it not possible to use those. And more often than not, it was really that latter point, the irregular operations, where our members would, felt that benefit would benefit them the most, but it was outside the scope of, call it that benefit design. And so we had a benefit in the market that was over promising by its title, what it was, and under delivering. And as we took a look at the cases that were viable, that were used, what we found is in almost every one of these cases, we had to take another paying customer off of the flight at a tremendous damage to our reputation to that customer. Because it typically resulted in an involuntary denied boarding, not a voluntary denied boarding.
mhm.
And so this is just one of those where, look, we go through great lengths to prioritize our best customers and to give them, an advantaged access. This one just went beyond the pale in terms of what was going to be required to deliver that benefit. And even at that, we weren't doing a great job of delivering against the expectation.
Yeah, it's that latter half of your answer. I think that makes it fair for all members, that they don't have to constantly be on the firing line, so to speak, when it comes to super elite members. Um, Scott is asking a follow-up question to something we discussed, and I apologize, everybody. I know I'm moving very slowly through my chat, but I promise it'll pick up and I'll start taking these questions at a more generic and broader level. Scott's asking for a clarification. What if I give 50K to a friend via the Chase Level Up program? Does their status get extended by that additional year as well? Much the same as the benefit?
So honest answer is that wasn't contemplated, but let us take that one back. It's well understood what you're asking here.
Okay. So can we expect a clarification over the
Yes,
next
you
few?
can.
Okay, perfect. I'd be happy to. Scott, I'll relay that to you, and then sorry, when I say Scott,
I
Scott
fully
K.
expected to walk away with this with a homework assignment or two.
Awesome. And I'm sure Scott Kennedy in this case will be happy to put that to his frequent, or rather, Flower Talk friends.
Of
Uh,
course. Thanks for the question, Scott.
There have been a couple of comments both on Reddit, Flower Talk, and also here by Anwar, who's talking around what happens to the redemption side of things, right? So can we expect, so what does 2026, let's just peg it to 2026 and maybe 2027. What does that hold for redemption side of things for Aeroplan? Are there going to be radical changes? Because we are seeing dynamic becoming that dynamic redemption group growing a little bit. Are there going to be more changes in light of qualification changes and such that we start seeing reflected on the redemption side of things as well? Because a lot of members are like, as long as they don't touch redemption side anymore, I'm fine with these changes. So where are we on that?
That's right. Boy, it sure would be disingenuous to change one side of the equation and then also change the other side of the equation. That's not what's contemplated here. And so uh, really, we strongly believe that Aeroplan's success in the marketplace is centered around its redemption value proposition. And so any discussion, anything that we ever do that could affect that is taken with the appropriate level of gravity. Um, that being said, you have seen us implement some changes here in the last year, around the creation or the expansion of our dynamic chart, to include certain partners. And I think we've talked about maybe the reasoning behind that, and I can maybe recap that again here. Uh, but I guess the short answer to your question is no. Not linked to these changes are any contemplated changes to our redemption value proposition. You can continue to expect us to lean very heavily into that. Uh, partner partners. Uh, Partner relationships are challenging. We have more airline partners than any other airline loyalty program in the world. It's a mark of pride for us. We have more partners in the on deck circle, at least a half a dozen sitting in the pipeline. And so I know it's been a while since you've heard us introduce a partner. There really are some good ones in the works here. So stay tuned.
There are still
We also
airlines left that you don't have on already.
a few.
Pretty sure you'll start
But
running
yeah,
out of options.
I think you'll start smirking when you see some of these when you see some of these new partners come out. We're really excited about them. But also with that, we think the bigger opportunity in the program from a redemption standpoint is getting access to more availability from our partners, and behind the scenes being willing to pay for that and being willing to to pay a higher rate for that behind the scenes for our members. Now, with that, as you might imagine, kind of like the dynamic story with Air Canada, it does mean that the award costs, go up along with that correspondingly. But when you think about our partner network, and sometimes it is just the availability of a short partner segment to unlock a much larger itinerary, you'll see how that could be the most impactful thing that we could ever do for the Aeroplan redemption proposition is the introduction of expanded inventory with our partners. And so that's maybe an area to watch for the program in the year ahead. It's quite a I know we kind of talked about tech lift. This is quite a tech lift, but this is something that we believe is the smartest dollar spent into the value proposition, and so you can just expect us to lean into that. But with that will come, and really, it's in those cases that will come, potentially an expansion of what you see in the dynamic partner redemption landscape.
Hmm, fantastic, fantastic. Um, so yeah, now that we have you on record saying that we shouldn't expect any radical changes to the redemption side of things, watch out. Joking, of course, joking. Let's shift gears a little bit. I'm taking on Theodore and Jack's question, combining it together around Companion Pass that comes with the uh, premium credit cards. So there's been much like in the previous iterations, there has been some not resentment, just challenges around using these for the type of travel people want to do. Is there any chat around making those Companion Passes a little more dynamic in the sense that either switch it for points, kind of like what you guys did during COVID years, allowed points exchange against that buddy pass, or I like Jack's suggestion question here says, is there any consideration for companion pass to be eligible for premium economy, even if there is extra copay? I think there's something there that even if people are willing to pay a little bit extra and not have to jump that entire latitude attitude kind of booking and then hope that my e-ups go through, especially now that e-ups are part of the sort of milestone rewards as opposed to you know core benefits. So tell us a little bit around what are some of the possibilities. Is this something that you discuss with providers annually, semi-annually? Has this been part of your feedback loop at all?
It has been part of the feedback loop. The ability to exchange them for something else like points, quite candidly, is just not. It's not something that we've had serious discussion around, just to be honest. But the idea of expanding these certificates to include other cabins, expanded cabins, it's something that we do continue to look at because there's an answer in there somewhere. Like to your point, the copay might have to go up. So how much does it have to go up? And so with that, call it there's a commercial design and then there's the build to support it. But it's I'll admit it's not something that's call it in an active design cycle right now, but it's something we'll definitely take back and kind of refresh our view on it. I appreciate the question.
Mhm. Um, I don't know how to summarize this. I'm just going to read out Eugene's question, Scott, and you take it for what it is and give us a bit of context. This is not so much a question as it requires a little more context to what Eugene has sort of stating. I assume the data supports these changes from a revenue perspective, but do we think people who do not fly Air Canada will now be more willing to pay cash for status? Because it seems like many elites seem to feel they may spend less as they cannot maintain their status without a huge amount of spend. I think this is coming from this entire idea of sort of person A, passenger A that spends cash tickets to fly signature class anyways. So they're not really worried about how much spend they'll have to do to get their status and get the benefits. And if you're flying signature class, most times you're using the benefits anyways that come with status to begin with, versus somebody now in this new structure maybe less incentivized to be like, you know what, why should I spend 20K, 30K to get that status where I can just, if I'm doing 2, 3, 4 trips a year, may as well just spend that money and get me into a cabin. So are there considerations, conversations around that group of people that will be like, you know what, I rather become a bit more of a free agent as opposed to peg my whatever 30,000, for example, dollars towards Air Canada each year?
That's right. So, first of all, thanks for the question. I think a member that's going to be spending in the neighborhood of $20 or $30,000 a year with the with Air Canada will find themselves in a position that is quite a bit better off than what they were receiving today, and so it's kind of hard to square how they would be disincentivized by the design. But maybe the way I'll take your question has more to do with, again, there's going to be members today that are finding their way into status and even higher, very high tiers of status today that will not be in that situation tomorrow, just because they might find themselves almost exclusively, taking long haul economy class, trips as an example. And in those cases, a member who maybe was enjoying a higher tier, who's now going to be in a lower tier or potentially no tier of the program, those are the members that as we've heard from them, those are really the ones that would potentially see an opportunity to go out as a free agent. That really is it something that we're worried about? Of course we're worried about it. And is there a way to engage that population of members? We believe there is. It's just not in the core design of the program. Um, it's something that we might be able to accomplish on a more targeted basis, for example, because in our view, uh, um, uh, a loyalty program doesn't have the luxury of just pointing to a certain set of members and saying this is going to be the folks I want to be loyal. I mean, a loyalty program that's really doing its job is finding a way to engage all of its members across all member segments and to really get them engaged in the program. That's kind of the virtuous cycle that we're all very proud of here. But for these members for whom the design is not beneficial, that is, call it our risk, and the one that we're seeing. It is a very, very small population of our
Mhm.
members, and one that we're going to be watching very closely.
Okay. It's good to sort of hear that you are thinking about those cross sections despite being smaller group of people. You're still thinking about those cross sections and waiting to see how those data points come through in the new program for 2026. Because I'm sure most people, I think most members, that the ones that are perhaps not happy right now or anticipating or anxious, will still put everything into the program in 2026 to try out what that means in the new structure before making any real changes in 2027. That's how I'm seeing it. So at least we'll sort of all learn together what this new program will yield in terms of our travel habits. There is a couple of questions I'm going to combine again. This one initially came from Anthony Hull, who was asking about e-up nominees, and Scott Kennedy kind of wrote it a little bit better for me to ask you, so I'm going to read out his comment. But Anthony Hull and Scott Kennedy, this is for both of you, says, I generally
Two
just
familiar
buy.
names.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad. Uh, I generally just buy JSO continuously expire 150 to 200 e-ups per year. I'm glad I can now upgrade up to 5 passengers on the same PNR, but if I'm on the PNR, it's just J tickets. Can we have more nominee slots again? Like back in the day, I would love to upgrade my dad on his once a life or once a year trip and a friend who happens to be flying to Canada for a weekend. So essentially, the can we look at more nominee slots, kind of like we used to have before? Because the one nominee, obviously, in most of these cases, seems a bit restrictive.
It's a very fair question. I think you've seen us take. Well, I guess on one hand, hopefully over the past few years here, you've seen us make some real progress in expanding the population for whom e-upgrades can be used for. So on one hand, we're making progress. On the other hand, we're taking this very conservatively and we're taking it step by step. And so, hopefully what you've observed is we'll make a change. We'll see how how it's affecting, call it, upgrade consumption. We're making sure that we're not unintentionally disadvantaging, large populations of members, and obviously monitoring all that feedback, looking at the data. And so here we are, at this next interval, and we're going to significantly expand the number of e-upgrade companions, excuse me, and see what that does for us. And then from there, the question is, what's our next expansion from there? But we kind of need to understand how this plays out first before we'd consider that. But it is definitely something that we actively discuss. I promise you that.
Okay. Perhaps extend that because that e-up and not being able to use a lot of the e-ups for most people that were sort of not willing to constantly buy latitude fares, or in my case, I can just why talk for somebody else? I can talk for myself. I was so okay with losing out on 100 e-ups, 120 e-ups, 130 e-ups every year, simply because I would do my very best to get directly into the cabin I wanted to be rather than leave it up to e-ups. With that in mind, for this particular transition year, 2025 going into 2026, uh, perhaps an idea from Ruddy or Rudy, Ruddy. So, since there are now so many e-ups that are lost for the lack of actually being used going into the next year, 2026, rather than bluntly erasing them, could Air Canada offer some kind of compensation, like additional Aeroplan? He gives an example, like one e-up is 100 Aeroplan points.
Hey, thanks for the suggestion. We pretty recently addressed, e-upgrade validity. And, right now, as we said, e-upgrades are now valid, 12 years, I'm sorry, 12 years, 12 months from the point that they're issued. And obviously for our premium card holders, it's 24 months. Again, this is just another area where with the new milestone rewards, we're looking to rethink how our members access e-upgrades, and in many cases, giving them those exact choices that you're talking about, where instead in a world where you otherwise would have just gotten e-upgrades, now you have other choices to choose from, including Aeroplan points. And so
Exactly.
that really was the design. And we think that, the combination of the e-upgrades that you already have being valid for longer, combined with the new milestone program is really kind of the design that we've come up with and that we're comfortable with.
Mhm. Sticking to the trend of 2025 and what we are doing, the good news is, I mean, I should have mentioned this long ago. This mature audience pulled me into the weeds right away. But Wesley's question brings us right back into today, which is, will there be another double SQX promo this fall, SQM promo, like we've seen in the past? We've seen SQM, SQD promos, but given that it's going to become SQC, can we expect another promo this year so that people can do what they need to do to pad up this year going into the transition year?
Um, Stay tuned.
All right.
Stay tuned.
Note that he didn't
It's
say
a
no.
great idea. Stay tuned.
All right. Amazing. Is that radar? Oh, so we are back to credit cards and talking about sort of we spoke about reserve cards a little bit. Do you oftentimes when we talk about the premium card or the best card that gives you the best, return on your investment kind of thing, are VIP cards, the Visa Infinite Privilege cards, going to see sort of a lift in what they offer with the reserve cards, or will reserve cards always be sort of the card that somebody should go for. I don't want to corner you into telling us get the reserve card versus the VIP card or whatnot, but you know what I mean. Like the benefits, even though they're both premium cards, seem to be that reserve card still gives you a lot more out of what it is, out of the function of the card itself. What about the VIP cards? What incentives or opportunities are there on the Visa Infinite Privilege cards for people to either retain or sign up for the new ones in the coming year?
Right. The Visa Infinite Privilege, call it our, what we call it our core card, right? It's our mass market product offering. Uh, it is the most logical entry point into Aeroplan to help boost your account balance at a very reasonable annual fee. You can earn at least one Aeroplan point for every dollar that you spend. You get the first free checked bag. Like it is. It's a solid, hardworking product that I think many of our members find to be, quite useful, very functional, and also helps you, build up your balance very fast. It is not the card that we purpose designed around the elite member experience. That really was the domain. That was kind of what we approached the reserve card with, or call it the premium card with. Uh, that product was purpose designed around giving our elite members an advantaged path to maintaining status and to earning benefits that call it directly enrich their elite member experience. And for our members that weren't elite, that there was access to elite-like perks such as lounge access that really made the card worthwhile. I mean, we kind of designed it with two different types of member in mind, and really nothing that goal hasn't changed with this set of changes. In fact, I think what you've seen is that we've leaned even further into it to make sure that the premium card product is really the no-brainer card for our elite members. And part of the way that we're able to do that, quite frankly, is the higher annual fee that comes with that card. It gives us the call it what we need to be able to deliver on that enriched set of benefits.
Yeah. Sticking to premium credit cards, you've answered most of this, but I just want to read it out for MB, who's a young Aeroplan member, 50K elite right now, says younger than 21 years right now, but don't qualify. He doesn't, or they don't qualify for premium credit cards. And my SQD spend sits around 6 to 7 thousand per year. However, consistently have 50K status and I've earned 60 to 70 SQM per year, flying a lot. So again, this anxiety about what happens in the next year if young members like MB are unable to get their premium cards vis-a-vis not be able to even leverage that 25K threshold. So again, that shift in terms of people that pay and fly more are the ones that really will try and stick. But let's just move the focus back into the mid-tier, 35K to a 50K elite member. How do you think somebody like MB would navigate in the new program? You've kind of mentioned a couple of things that this would be a learning year to see if that credit card ceiling is too high to begin with. But for those that don't have the credit card, don't have premium credit cards, I'll say this right off the bat, like spending X amount of money at LCBO is not the solution.
No, no, come on,
Or hey,
why
actually,
not?
let's combine this. Not everybody has access to LCBO, for example. And that question really comes from a lot of the programs gear or a lot of the partnerships sort of, for lack of a better term, ignore people that are living away from big hubs and centers. How do you see that engagement happen if they can't access an LCBO or if they can't access one of the other premium partners that you have where there is an opportunity to earn some SQC?
I think step one was just making sure that we are seeing some tremendous engagement with our everyday partners, and right now none of it counts towards status, and so we wanted to take the right first step there. But you can imagine that this is an area, just kind of watch the space. Yeah, this is an area that we're going to look to build out further. Now, we're not looking to introduce like a dozen new everyday partners, but we are looking to find ways for more of your everyday activities to count in a meaningful way towards status. So again, just kind of stay tuned there. It is an area of active development. Um, let's go back to maybe your question about our core credit card offering. We do
Hmm.
have a segment of members, to your point, earlier, call it earlier stage in their career, earlier stage in building up credit, um, where it just might not be possible to get onto the premium credit card just because of the household earn requirements that come with those cards. I will say, and I'm going to be speaking out of my lanes here, and so forgive me. Again, I know this is going to live on the internet forever, but there is more than one way into a premium card, and it kind of depends on your issuer. But some issuers have the flexibility to approve into the infinite privilege product, or in the Amex's case, just the higher level product based on a certain number of years of good performance on the card. And so, you might find yourself in a situation where your household income or individual income never triggers the threshold. It doesn't mean that you're out of consideration. It just means that the other way in is through multiple years of good credit behavior on the lower tier product.
Yeah, and fair point. We've seen that across the board. I think CIBC, TD, and Amex have all done upgrades based on the history that you put on with those banks. So that's the direct answer to MB, of course. Let's shift gears now, given that we have a few more minutes left with you. I'm going to combine Stanley and Graham's question around airline partners, kind of, and we were talking about when you said stay tuned, and we might smirk when more airline partners are being announced. The flip of that, though, is what Stanley's kind of really drilling down to. Having many airline partners with when most may not be releasing award space to Aeroplan makes the program mostly useless, their words. And Graham adds says, can Aeroplan please start communicating more about issues when awards on a specific partner airline become unavailable for months at a time? So I think we've experienced that in the last couple of years where some partners, and unless there's a bit of a brouhaha on some of the social media channels, we don't really hear from Aeroplan. So would there be a concerted effort when your systems tell you that these awards may not be popping up? Are you able to even monitor that and give us communications in time?
So we do. It's something that we monitor quite often. So maybe there were a couple questions in here. So number
Yeah.
one,
So
uh, uh, you know, uh, as we all well know, the inventory that we enjoy from our partners, the same that other programs enjoy from the same partners, is a function of the partner being willing to release reward inventory. And right now, it is one speed. It is call it the space that they have absolutely determined is call it that lowest tier of award space, which from one partner to another, some are very good at and very very reasonable at how they release that inventory, and others tend to be less so. And so that is the case. That really is that is an area that we're very focused on in the program, as I mentioned earlier. The idea of getting more access to more inventory and behind the scenes being willing to pay for it is really it's an area of focus for us in the program, and we're taking that one partner at a time, and in parallel we're building out the changes to our systems to be able to accommodate that. But with that, there will, just to be clear, that will open up, call it more dynamic pricing across our partners. So it's kind of like that's just kind of the necessary reality of it. Um, so just more to come there. It's a huge priority for us. Uh, as it pertains to outages, and outages happen, our systems, we are connecting with our partner systems in ways that they were never intended to be used. And with that, things do break along the way. Or quite often, what is the case is a configuration change is made on one of two ends that all of a sudden makes that either blocks the award inventory from coming in, and or is causing, worse yet, a number of false positives where it looks like the space is open when it's really not. And that is something that we very, very actively monitor. We hold ourselves to a pretty high standard here on those false positives. And the moment we see a certain threshold being triggered, we will take that partner out of availability, until which time we can have a confidence level that it's safe to restore it back into inventory. That happens more often than you might think. And so to be continuously launching communications to our members about a partner that is down. We sometimes have a partner where we'll have to take it down for maybe 24 hours. We have other partners where I think we're entering the second year where we still haven't resolved award inventory desyncs for certain cabins of service. And again, this is just it's an area of continual focus for us. I think the question here is maybe less around how do we reduce the amount of it. That's something that we care a lot about. Has more to do with, call it, the transparency of, is there a place that we can go to understand what partners might not be showing as available at the moment, and we'll take that back. It's a fair ask. It's one of those where again it's pretty dynamic when this happens, and the number of partners that are down for any prolonged period of time tend to be very, very limited in nature, and I think we can list them here.
Yeah, I mean, despite it being a limited number, I think it's this community that engages so much with that redemption side of things, especially on partner awards. I'm envisioning like a little ticker bubble right up top saying please note, or a notification that hangs on top if you guys build a threshold that if a partner is out by, I don't know, 2 weeks or more than 1 week, then they need to be listed on that little notification ticker up top. That might be the easiest in my mind as a customer. Then you don't have to worry about outgoing messages constantly to the membership. And or like Turkish is popping up in my mind right away. As soon as somebody puts in IST, that there should be some ticker somewhere telling them about this outage if it's a known outage. I think that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
I
what
don't
most people
know.
are.
So right now we talk about it in none places on our website, and so I think our goal here is to talk about it on some places. A dynamic ticker like you're suggesting, while elegant, I don't know that I'm ready to commit to here. But again, point well taken. And we'll I think the goal here is to make sure that that information exists somewhere.
Fair enough. Sticking to sort of searching for awards and partner awards, I'm going to take Heather's question because we've discussed in previous times you've been here with us talking about Aeroplan, the challenge of booking mixed award cabins. So Heather says, can Aeroplan please solve the problem of booking mixed classes? Getting my Dash 8 hop to Victoria included in my J booking is becoming impossible. Makes me book the last bit on WestJet, and then I hope there's no irregular operations that impact them. So that little last leg, I've heard similar conversations about Ottawa to Montreal, for example, or anytime there's a mixed booking involved, people having to call in, try and get that booking. So what's happening there? Would that ever become any more smoother than it is right now, which is mixed is not possible, so call in. And when we call in, most times the answer is no, it cannot be done. What's the take right now with Aeroplan award bookings with mixed cabins?
I mean, mixed cabins. Yeah, so I mean, we have lots of mixed cabins itinerary in search, but there is clearly there's clearly a deficiency here, and it sounds like the short hop on an all economy aircraft as the last or first segment of the itinerary.
Yep.
Let me take that one back. I don't know that I've got a good answer for you, and I don't want to make one up. So let me just take that one back.
Right. Appreciate that because yeah, that one comes up quite a lot. So I'm glad Heather put that here.
Of course.
Uh,
Thanks, Heather.
Scott is asking, didn't think of it this way, but since he's asked, have you considered any incentives for people who fly exclusively discretionary leisure travel and really can choose who or whether to fly compared to a business traveler who has to fly, say, Toronto, Vancouver every week?
Yes. I mean, we have considered that segment. It kind of depends on what we're looking to do. But this is a segment that we intend to maintain loyalty in our program. And so, anywhere that we're not able to accomplish that through our base earn proposition, you can expect to see us taking promotional measures or targeted offers to really drive those to drive the right behaviors.
Okay. MB is asking a question that I sort of hadn't given credence to, but is a good one. Once you reach a milestone, do you need to make your selections right away, or could you wait until a certain time of the year?
You can wait until a certain time of the year. Actually, it's important to highlight this point. Uh, some programs, I think Hyatt was an example that was talked about earlier. Great implementation of a milestone program, but you have a finite amount of time to select your milestone, or that opportunity expires. In our program design, the milestone selection opportunity remains active for the entirety of the elite qualification year. So you can wait several months if you want to before finalizing your milestone selection.
Okay, that's so generous in a lot of ways. Is that going to be the way it is, or is that just for the transition year?
No, that's the way it's going to be.
Nice, nice. Perfect. I'm just scrolling through a lot of questions here, comments. Uh, yeah, and good question. Jocelyn is asking what I was thinking when you said stay tuned on the partner selections and how can people leverage other everyday partners. And Jocelyn saying, will Chexi count as a preferred partner for SQC earnings? I think a lot of people have wondered that. So even if you can't answer yes or no to that question at this point of time, can you talk to us a little bit about everyday partners like Chexi and how they would evolve in the program? Would there be opportunity to earn SQC through these partners even in the future, or through limited promotions? And maybe this is a good segue for you to talk a little bit about these limited promotions for buying tickets or through partner programs, because you've kind of mentioned it more than once in every forum as to how people can look forward to that to really jump up their SQC earnings.
That's right. It's that's just one of those where instead of me sharing multiple examples, just have to see it through our actions, in what we do here in the next year. And part of reserving the ability to do these as promotions is we're going to be just watching very closely to see how our members interact with this new design. And it's really, as you might imagine, using our promotional levers to ensure if there's areas of if there's areas of engagement that are that really warrant it, then we're going to lean into it. And so it's kind of hard to speculate exactly what's going to happen here in the next year, but just know that this is we believe very strongly in the lever of promotional activities, and so we're gonna do that quite a bit, especially on the point earned side. The question about Chexi. This is one where right now with Chexi, the majority of the points that you're going to earn in Chexi are going to be through your credit card earnings, and so a lot of your Chexi earn, if you're paying rent or paying using their one-time payments, one of the many things that you can use Chexi for. The points that you're earning are largely going to be a function of what comes through your credit card. Now, Chexi itself also right now in market through, I believe, September 15th has some promotions in market around joining Chexi and engaging with Chexi. And those are bonus point offers. Really, bonus point offers weren't designed to be part of the everyday earn structure. And so that's not to say that we're not going to do something together with Chexi in the future, but that would be maybe an explanation for why you don't see Chexi just kind of sitting in the lineup right now, because all of our offers with Chexi are largely around acquisition offers and bonus pointer. But again, I'm sorry. I'm once again going to say stay tuned, because this is an area that we along with Chexi would love to see be part of our everyday lineup.
Yeah, and that would also resolve the me not wanting to spend $30,000 at LCBO. Uh,
Fair enough.
Theodore, I think Theodore, apologize if I'm not asking the question correctly, but I think what Theodore is asking is uh, kind of like in the Atmos program, because we spoke about it, premium credit cards get a waiver when they're booking partner airline bookings. Is that ever been a consideration for Aeroplan for somebody with a reserve card or a VIP card get a waiver on their partner award booking fee?
It was notice that as well. It's a very strong credit card offering that they've put out there, and it has been discussed. Really, the question around this is whether or not it resonates, right? Because the everything that we offer as a benefit on our premium credit card is based on a belief that our members will use that as a reason to get the card, use that as a reason to hold on to the card, use it as a reason to engage with the card, and so our partner booking fees are they're quite reasonable. I guess the question is the question that we're seeking to answer is whether or not that benefit versus potentially a different benefit that we could offer is the best dollar spent in terms of investing in that value proposition. I mean, that's the honest answer, right? Because anything that you invest in one area means that you're not going to invest in another area. It was very interesting to watch. I'm not you're not hearing me say anything here against the idea, but it is something that that we continue to consider.
I have Mike's question here, but I think, Mike, we've answered your question around that small business and putting in, Mike is saying, as a seven-figure annual spender on credit cards. So we've answered that. Mike, I just wanted to acknowledge that we've read it. I've asked that particularly with you in mind, believe it or not. And Scott's answered that really, really well. So we're just going to get past this to MB says, interesting idea by a friend who works in revenue management at a non-Canadian airline. Any question that begins with the rev management in the picture, I get really leery about it. But here goes. Would Air Canada ever consider a flight pass that allows for unlimited standby travel? This is more an Air Canada question, but um, can you
No,
can
it's a hey, uh, I work for Air Canada. I can answer the question. Um, yes, I don't know that we've given it serious consideration. I think uh, the thing about unlimited standby travel, it's one of those where it pushes a lot of pressure onto our gate agents, quite frankly, and having that. I'd say as airline employees, we have access to standby travel, and it even as new airline employees come in, it takes a little bit of training and getting used to how to navigate standby travel, and we give our employees quite a bit of tools to help navigate that, including being able to look at flight loads and see what my chances are of getting on. And that's just something that does not translate well to a consumer-facing product where you run a real risk of expectations versus what you're going to actually be able to deliver. You're going to have folks that are going to put too much confidence in their ability to stand by and potentially be up against like real personal losses, through non-refundable hotels and whatnot. Um, there's just and a lot of this is going to be shouldered at the gate just before departure, where a key component of our on-time performance involves reliable turn times of aircraft and being able to close out a flight ahead of the departure time. And so, for all those reasons, while it sounds very attractive and certainly from an airline revenue standpoint, you would love to be able to collect additional revenue for what is otherwise going to be distressed inventory, of course. But this is just one where I think the challenge of the model is aligning broad-based expectations against what is going to be a real reality without putting helpful tools in the hands of our customers. And yes, you could think, okay, well, what if we gave like a stoplight system, red, yellow, green. The fact is, what might be green at 6 o'clock in the morning is going to turn into red by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Just our that is kind of the nature of our flights. And so again, this is just one where, despite our best efforts to make a product like that try to function for our customers, it's a appears to be a flawed model in our view.
Hmm. This is so well answered that I'm worried that you will get poached away from Aeroplan now. So hopefully nobody takes you into revenue management or operations away from Aeroplan. All right. With time being the factor, Scott's question will be the last one. Scott Kennedy's question will be the last one we take. And this is again bringing us back into the search engine itself on the award availability side. Scott says, if I'm trying to search California to Europe on a weekend, I end up searching a couple of dozen origin destination date pairs, and I often end up getting blocked and then have to wait 30 to 60 minutes before continuing searching. This makes it frustrating. So he's asking for authenticated users doing under 100 searches. Why do we get blocked?
Because we still have Scott is being blocked because he's exhibiting a search behavior that is more that is more indicative of a robotic screen scraper versus an actual human. And I don't doubt for a moment that Scott searches at a certain velocity or at a certain frequency that we can easily confuse that. So sorry about that, Scott. The fact is, there are still screen scraping activities that are happening behind a login, and so while it has significantly helped us in terms of being able to regulate the amount of queries that we're doing for award searches, it's not perfect, and that would be why.
You are just an absolute rock star, Scott. In this case, not Scott K, as much as a rock star he is. I'm
He's a
talking
rock
about
star too.
Scott O'Leary being a rock star. Scott, thank you so much for the time. I really just every session starts and ends with me saying, I cannot imagine another airline executive, I mean, Mark aside, other airlines executive that would want to spend this kind of time and this openness and being so candid with its membership. So thank you for being who you are, and thank you for being awesome. And thank you to everybody that's joined in on this session. We'll close this one out. I'm going to hang out if folks have other things to chit chat about. But Scott, thank you so much for your time. And I hope I'm sure we'll disturb you again to have one of these sessions where you can do an AMA like this, which went all over the place. And you were just, yeah, amazing. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Anshul, and thank you to this group. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for making me feel so welcome here. Thank you so much for all your questions, and I sure hope you'll invite me back. Really appreciate it.
Take care, Scott. Cheers.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.